cuffs are off, man. Get right. Too many left in these leagues, but I ain't gonna leave. I'ma get right. Get right. Down to the bottom and scratch it for all the...
Hey everybody, Adam Rank here.
What's up, everybody? It's Marcus Grant.
This is AJ Dillon of the Green Bay Packers.
I got to give a shout out to y'all at Get Right Fantasy.
If you are not subscribed, what are you waiting for? You want to lose your league?
Our league. Check out the Get Right Fantasy Network.
You got to get right with the Get Right Fantasy Network.
And best of luck with your podcast. Appreciate the support.
And you're tuned in to watch my boys at Get Right Fantasy Network. Get you right. Enjoy the show.
But I tune in every Friday. Strategies provided, I will lock in every way. So go and roll your sleeves up. Yeah, go roll your sleeves up. And I'm getting down, cause I roll my sleeves up. And I'm getting right, cause I roll my sleeves up.
What up? What up? What up, world? Welcome to the Get Right Fantasy Network. I'm Mike Herrick, aka Classic Mike, and tonight I'm here as always on Friday night with my good buddy Kendall from the Fantasy Football Tavern. What's going on, Kendall?
Hey man, crazy buy-apocalypse. Trade deadlines in a bunch of our dynasty leagues was this week. Like, you know, I've been throwing stuff in the group chat. I'm about as jazzed and ready to go than I've been in a few weeks, man. Let's get it.
Yeah, man, I hear you there. We got trade deadlines everywhere coming up. So last night we started off week 11 with the Commanders versus the Eagles. We're going to give you guys our quick reactions in a minute and go through the good, the bad, and the ugly of that particular game. First, just a quick breakdown of tonight's show. Tonight, we're going to be going over a select amount of games from Week 11. We're basically going to be going through the Packers versus the Bears, Jaguars versus the Lions, Raiders versus the Dolphins, Rams versus the Patriots, Browns versus the Saints, and the Colts versus the Jets. So those are going to be the first ones that we're going to be going through, and then Ruskin and Phil are going to be going through everything else at 11 p.m. Eastern, right after us. So stay tuned if you're in right now, and we're going to hand you guys right over to them right after we're done. Also, while we talk about these games, me and Kendall are going to give you guys props from each of these games. And we're going to be using, of course, our sponsors, Underdog. It's the best and easiest place to play fantasy sports. We enjoy, of course, their best ball tournaments every year. But, of course, now is the time that they have Pick'em contests where you can simply pick higher or lower on the player's stats like rushing and receiving, yards, and touchdowns. So make sure you guys go sign up now and use promo code GETRIGHT, and you will receive a 50% deposit match up to $1,000 in bonus cash. You'll also get a special Aaron Rodgers pick'em. It's right here. It's 0.5 yards right on Sunday, total yardage until Sunday. So make sure you guys download Underdog app and from your app store now and make your first deposit and get into a contest today. Also, we're going to have live Q&A at the very end of the show. So make sure you guys that are watching drop your questions in the chat and we will get to them at the very end of the show. Just a friendly reminder, just to make sure you let us know the format of the league. Let us know if it's full, standard, half, tight end premium, the whole deal. And if it goes with the game that we're going to be discussing, we might bring it up there as well. So throw your questions in the chat and we're going to help you out there. We also have super chats available. If you want your question answered right away, please make sure you guys use those super chats. It helps the show immensely and helps us grow. So thank you so much if you do. No problem if you don't. Here's our schedule for those that are new to the show. Take a minute, pause, see what our schedule is like. We have shows pretty much every day. We're going to be getting a show on Saturday. We do. We have The Sweet Life with Cody and Zach. So make sure you guys check out them as well. But we have all of our shows here every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Friday we get 2, and then Sunday I'm back here to help you guys with last-minute start-sit questions. So make sure you guys check us out there as well. All right, boys and girls, we got, of course, the captain in the house waiting for us to end. What's going on, Ant? Great to have you here. So first and foremost, let's get into the first thing that we're going to be talking about, which is the Thursday night football recap. Commanders ended up losing 26 to 18. Some of the good that happened from that game, man. Saquon. Oh,
Bad game, right? I mean, because like he they fell down at
Bad
the
for
one,
me.
so, and got the vultured touchdown. So pretty bad game, right?
yeah. Hold on one sec. I just realized.
Even underdog or even like the sleeper app was like, guys, I promise this isn't scripted, but yep, it's another one.
Give me one sec, everybody. Apparently I'm having mic issues. So Kendall, just take over for one sec while I fix this up, okay?
Do your thing, no problem. I just traded for Saquon in Dynasty like during the game, so I clearly watched a lot of this. The good Saquon Barkley, he's amazing, right? We know Classic is a big Giants fan, so I know this is a little salt in the wound for him, but maybe the Giants will wise up. But 198 all-purpose yards, a massive, I think, 36 or so yard catch, 3 touchdowns, probably could have been 4. Looking fantastic, changed that offense. He's the reason they're winning. A lot of good from Saquon Barkley. Other good, Zach Ertz seems to be the kind of dink and dunk pro with Jaden Daniels. One of the things we kind of feared with Jaden coming in was he would do a lot of dink and dunk, wouldn't throw the ball downfield. And we saw a lot of that, but that was really good for Zach Ertz. And you kind of saw some of that old school talent with that toe tapper 2-point conversion. So that was pretty good as well. B-Rob got it done by falling into the end zone. Not super efficient, not his biggest day, but a tough matchup. I think anyone in his spot would have been pretty poor. Eckler, huge good there. I think even in the first half, his box score was absolutely ridiculous. I think he might have been at least 5 for 6 for 50 plus in the first half. But really fantastic. Eckler, looking like a mainstay in your flex, and definitely a bye week savior. Combination of floor and ceiling there feels pretty good. The bad, both QBs, not super great. It was I think as I forget which coach was talking about it, but it was a tough NFC East division rivalry. It was a defensive battle. Didn't end that way, but it definitely started that way. So both QBs, not so good. Everything came from the ground for both of them. So disappointment if you had either of those. But on the flip side, if you had Hurts, that concussion scare was a little crazy. We're good there. Things are kind of nice. AJ Brown, I think, did the best he could. Devonta Smith disappeared a little bit, but I don't know. The score is a little misleading, right? The ground game was just too good. Their defense was too good. They weren't all that needed. So a little bit of worrying for AJ Brown and Devonta Smith. They weren't exactly being the alphas, and they haven't been the alphas that you've wanted. So a little bad, a little scared. But the offense is working. So if you're going to be scared, I would still rather have these guys in a good offense. The ugly Terry McLaurin, 1 catch, 10 yards, send the search party out. I'd have to go back and look at the stats to see what his separation metrics were. He wasn't projected to have a big game. Eagles have a fantastic secondary. So I don't think this is massive alarm bells. This is a spot where you could have predicted McLaurin to have a poor game. I had him projected fairly low in my rankings. Still a must start, of course, but I think we did kind of see something like this happen. And those that had Jaden Daniels or were riding high last couple weeks have been kind of low. So, is Daniels turning into, I don't want to say a streaming option, but if you have a second quarterback roster that's pretty good, maybe you picked up Herbert and he's been quite strong. I think there's a real play to maybe, I don't want to say sit Daniels, but I think it's a real decision at this point in tough matchups. So that was a little bit ugly. So that was the good, the bad, the ugly. How about the sexy over here? Classic Mike back in the house.
I don't want to hear it. You're the sexy here, wearing that nice jacket over there. Oof.
God, I got to respect the chat over here. It's a classy group. I think we have a very well-educated chat. You know what I mean? We don't have 5,000 people watching, but I'll take the 18 people watching right now over the field. All right, if we were playing fantasy, right? Nice. So coming with it. I was doing the whole thing was I've been doing a lot of business the last 2 days. If you've seen the group chat, all right, I have been full day trading across like 10 dynasty leagues, and we're making some moves. So I thought we'd throw on our business attire for all the business we've been doing. Not the dynasty show, but little carryover.
I like it. I like it a lot.
And with that being said, though, we are through Thursday night. Did you have any particular thoughts you wanted to cover? You want to get into games?
I think you pretty much covered everything, my friend. I mean, honestly, it was just the big games from Saquon, Zach Ertz, Brian Robinson, and Austin Eckler. That was the big stuff. Quarterbacks had a rough day through the air, and then Terry McLaurin just having a very, very weak game. So let's move right along to our Packers versus the Bears. Packers are 6-3, going to visit the Bears in Chicago at 4-5. Packers are favored by 5. Oop, hold on a sec. Sorry, I'm gonna get yelled at by Rasta again. Packers are favored by 5.5 points, 40.5 over under in this game. Injuries of note, Bears are good. No real injuries that we got to worry about. If you're an IDP player, Brisker is going to be on IR. That's the only thing you got to really worry about. Marshawn Lloyd, he was practicing all week. He was coming off the IR, and then all of a sudden had has appendicitis. Man, he just can't catch a break. He is having a rough part of his particular year. How?
Oh no, it's doing it again?
No, I don't know. Ross was saying that I don't sound right. So I want to make sure.
Keep drinking.
No, I was going to say, I thought I sound pretty good, but I could be wrong here.
Keep the takes so hot that it don't matter, you know?
Yeah. As long as you can hear me, that's all that matters. Other than that, I mean, of course, you're going to be starting guys like Love, Jacobs, Reed, Dobbs, Kraft, maybe Swift, DJ Moore and Adunze. So this is really a classic NFC North battle. I mean, we've seen it for years with Rodgers. Everybody loves this matchup. Packers going to Soldier Field, Aaron Rodgers always owning them and all that. Now it's two younger quarterbacks that are now going to have a rivalry of the ages. They're going to continue to be that type of group. Who are some of the players that you really trust in this matchup that you would really like starting this week? I know there are a couple that you're unsure of and, unaware, that you might not want to be, but who's the guys that you really want to start in this game?
Josh Jacobs. The way to beat the Bears is by running through them. I wish we weren't made of paper that way, but that is the way to attack us. So I think Jacobs is a pretty strong play. Kraft, I think, is probably a strong play. And I say that because there's injuries at tight end. It's by apocalypse at tight end. So a lot of us are scrambling. If you had Kincaid, you had to do something. So, because of those situations, relatively Kraft is fairly strong. When you look at the Green Bay receiving core, hard to say any of them are smash plays. The Bears, the strength is the secondary. I think we're going to lose this game, but it's hard to say who's going to do what. Do they all kind of vulture each other? You can't feel confident on anyone on the Bears having a big game. I mean, you can convince yourself this is a decent flex. But outside of that, I don't think a flex play is someone you're necessarily calling confident, if that's fair. I'm not even confident in Love. I think that's maybe the most influential thing to talk about is he's kind of a locked and loaded QB1, right? But
yeah,
he's a little banged up. He hasn't been his normal self lately. And this is a matchup where I just don't think he's going to need to do much. I think Jacobs can kind of take the wheel and is going to be fine. So I don't see a need for him to throw for many touchdowns. And I don't see a need for him to throw for many yards because their defense, if the Bears offense can't put it together, they're going to have great field position. And it could be one of those hyper efficient outings that you see from time to time where, a quarterback can even have 2-3 touchdowns for 160 yards or something like that. So, Love is not the strongest play. I think there's even some flex. There's some streaming options that are a little bit stronger.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, right now, Bears defense is really good against wide receivers, but really bad against the run. So, yeah, I like your call on Jacobs. That's definitely someone I'm looking to fire up this week. They are currently middle of the road when it comes to handling the running backs. I like Reed, too. I think he can do a little bit of damage and can really, he works in all facets of the game. And of course, on the other side, Swift and, Swift, I think is the only guy, only person I personally can trust on the Bears without having, heart palpitations during the game where I'm sitting there going, oh, when's everything going to happen?
Game script proof, right? It doesn't matter what the score is. He will be on the field and involved, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I mean, that's really the only questions I have for this game. It's really not a ton of excitement, in my opinion. I know this is more exciting for you than it would be for fantasy, just because the Bears fan in you.
I mean, this is Bears Packers, baby. This is I was so looking forward to. I'm bleeding heart here, right?
Yeah.
Bears fans going into the season with our draft, with our offense, the way believe me, all of us were less confident than the market on our team for the first time in probably 20 years. But man, I was looking forward to. I almost tried to buy home Bears Packers tickets. I was looking forward to finally getting them. And so I think this is going to be, I'm going to have to hit the liquor store before I'm too drunk to drive. It's going to be a hard day for yours truly. So T's and P's over here for my guy. Because if we get blown the fuck out, yeah. I don't know what I'm going to do.
It's going to be a long night, my friend. A long night. Oh,
man. Just keep it within 7.5, man.
That's all.
If we can just cover the 5.5, dude.
Yeah, there you go. Get over the 40 and cover 5.5. I like it. So let's move on to the Jags versus the Lions. Jags, I mean, the Jags are 2-8. Lions are 8-1. The line here, the spread is 3. Lions are favored by 13.5. Over under is 47, which is insane to think. It just means a lot of points for the Lions in this case. Injuries to note for this game, there's actually a few. Sam Laporta, he didn't practice all week with a shoulder injury. He's out. They already ruled him out. He's good. He's out of there. No tag yet, or there's no tag, but he's been ruled out, is Trevor Lawrence. He's out for this game. They said he could be good after the bye. So we'll wait and see how that goes. Tank Bigsby is also ruled out for this game. So Travis Etienne is probably your guy if you need him. Not the best play, but definitely the guy that you're going to need. You also have Brian Thomas Jr. You also have Evan Engram. My biggest question is, so we just saw Goff on Monday Night Football, or no, Sunday Night Football, my bad, playing against the Houston Texans, had one of the worst games of his career.
Still
5
win.
interceptions.
One of the worst games of his
career.
Still won.
Crazy. But how do you feel about him moving forward? Is this a real big get-right game for him?
I don't know if it's a get-right game or not, but it's a game theory way to look at this, okay? The Lions are going to have probably decent field position. They're going to have a lot of offensive possessions. I don't think they're going to have any problem moving the ball, right? So I think they're going to put up points. I think it's a situation where could all of the points go to the running back and Goff does nothing? Yeah, that could absolutely happen.
Yeah.
But that can happen in almost any matchup. So generally, I like the ecosystem of they should put up a decent amount of points. They should have the ball a lot. Their implied team total is pretty high. It's 30, 35 or something like that. And yeah, I don't know if he has a smash game, but I know he's going to have every opportunity to have a 3-touchdown performance, a 2-touchdown performance. I don't know how it skews in there, but I think he's a pretty favorable option. I mean, it's going to be rough coming off of last week, but I still think that you trust that, look, every quarterback's going to have some bad games. Honestly, we don't always project them when they happen, right? I mean, yesterday had a pretty high over-under, and honestly, it was looking like a awful stalemate at halftime, right? So sometimes we call the game script and then something weird happens. I'm going to start him. Now, there are other options I would play over him, but I'm not going to take last week with too much emphasis this week. That offense should put up a lot of points. He's going to have the opportunity to do some pretty good things.
Would you play him or Bo Nix?
I would take Bo Nix. Safer floor, and that's a big deal. I don't see Nix going. Nix is never going to lose you a game with the way he's playing right now. Goff could, right? At most position players, right, the difference between 12 and 16 points, that's a stretch, but at QB, I mean, Goff could get you 11, he can get you 30. The spread on him is pretty large. Nix doesn't have that low end, but he does have the same high end as Goff. So it depends on who you're playing, what their lineup looks like because of the bipocalypse. Look, there's some lineups I have this week where my opponent is decimated, and I don't have to go crazy on waivers. Yeah. I can stash because look, they're so wounded. I can I can limp along and still probably catch a W most of the time, right? This is a situation where pay attention, look at your opponent's lineup before you make your decisions. This is the type of play I would make with Goff is, if you just need to get by, there's some safer options, like you said, with Knicks, right? I think Goff is a little more volatile this week, but he also has pretty elite upside to throw 3 touchdowns too.
Yeah, for sure. So for the Jaguars side of the ball, like we just said, we have Tank Bixby out. We have Trevor Lawrence out, which means Travis Etienne and D'Ernest Johnson are in the backfield. We got Mac Jones behind center. Is there a player in this Jags offense that you trust in this really difficult lineup? Matchup versus the Lions. I mean, this is probably one of the toughest defenses that they're going to face all year.
If you have Ingram, you're still happy to play him. You're not too scared. He's kind of the most stable player, I guess. And I'm saying that with an asterisk because it's not Ingram of the last 10 games of last season, right?
Yeah.
That was historic, man. It was crazy. But at the tight end position this year, it's been awful. So his 10 points or plus a game is actually pretty good, sadly, as rough as that is. I'm saying I trust him. I just don't trust him to blow up, but I do have faith in him. Compared to BTJ is a significantly more talented individual. He should consistently have huge games, and with the QB play, with the state of the offense, unfortunately, like what was the other week? I was beating the drum for I will start almost anybody over BTJ. And I sounded crazy. And I said to Marcus Robinson in his 3.5 points, we're still better than BTJ, right? So it's because the person throwing him the ball is so inconsistent.
What about
you really can't.
Najee? Let's answer Bullseye. He goes Najee or Brian Thomas Jr. for week 11.
Now, this is definitely one of those. I'm going to ask you, who are you playing and what do you need?
Yeah,
Najee has 0% chance to give you 20. Yeah. BTJ has that in his range of outcomes.
I wanted to ask
BTJ
if it's
can
full
get you
PPR or half.
3 or 4. Najee's probably closer to 7 to 12 in terms of median outcomes, right? So use some game theory here. Do what you need to do. And this is actually a really, really great question. I lean BTJ for the most part because I want ceiling. Generally, I always want a ceiling performance because we're not good enough to call when people are going to have good and bad games, right? So I want the bigger spread that I can get. And Najee is it's a really condensed spread, I think, with Warren back. I'm going to take BTJ over it. It's a little bit close, but know your matchup. I mean, if it's even a close matchup, I'm going BTJ.
Yeah, if it's half PPR, I'm going to be leaning a little bit more Harris just because I want the guarantee comparatively. I don't trust Mac Jones. The quality of target that I'm getting from him compared to Trevor Lawrence, which is saying a lot, is a lot different. Trevor Lawrence is a lot better at getting the ball out, lot more accurate. Mac Jones might be a top 2 talent, but unfortunately he is, or first round talent. Let's put it that way.
Was he 2, 3?
I thought he was 2. I feel like he was 2, but I could be wrong.
He's got one more year
22.
before his Darnold resurrection. He's got one more year before he can have a Darnold comeback.
But either way, I don't see it. I just don't have the faith in Brian Thomas Jr. that others might because of Mac Jones. I'm still, even as you said, you might feel comfortable with Ingram. I really don't. I mean, I'm so used to, he's a really good safety blanket, but then Mac Jones doesn't have the opportunity to throw it because he pretty much holds on to the ball longer than he should. And it makes it where he is just, he's not the same at behind center than most people. And he just sits there in the pocket and then just doesn't throw it when he has the opportunity to. I'm a little nervous about how he's going to interact with things. I feel like they will try to run it a little more just to try to keep that offense off the field and play defense. They do have a good pass rush overall, but at the end of the day, that defense is going to get run down, especially at home with the Lions. I mean, there's a lot going on there. It should be interesting. I forgot to do props from the last game, so I apologize. I'm going to do my prop from the Chicago game, then go right into my other prop because they actually are kind of the same. I have DeAndre Swift higher than 2.5 receptions, and I also have David Montgomery higher than 1.5 receptions.
Former Bear.
Yeah, I mean, I see a theme. I definitely can see them doing well in these positions. They both are able to catch the ball out of the backfield. DeAndre has been very good at that as of late. They're going to get him involved. Game script, it will be there. I know it might not be here for this game, but it will keep Monty on the field to be able to possibly get these, at least 2 little screen passes or something like that to keep him involved. What were yours? I know we didn't go into it in the last game, but what's your Bears one?
I did yours to mine. I highly agree with yours. I think one of the things they're going to do with the coaching change is they are going to look to get Caleb early completions and to get him into some sort of a rhythm early on mentally. And I do think this is going to be a higher target game for Swift, and it's going to be a little more intentional. That's my personal call.
That's my hope.
The Bears have a history of whatever seems very logical.
New OC in there. Remember, new OC.
I mean, well, I don't know what that looks like, man, but
we should talk about that.
Like, you've been a Giants fan. I mean, I don't know about the Giants, but I know for sure with the Bears, whenever, like, I would say the fan base, if we could play call like as a fan base, like if there was an app where we could just have a limited play sheet and we could vote, it would be the best offensive coordinator we've had in 10 years.
Yeah, unfortunately, mine would just since we don't use it, it would just be QB draw, or it would be running back draw on 3rd down every time. Anyway.
But we'll get there. I liked Rome higher than 34.5 receiving yards.
Yeah,
it's mostly because of his ADOT. His receiving line is like 2.5, which is like super low, but I only think he needs 2 catches so he can hit the lower than on his total receptions, but he needs 1 catch to get to 34 and a half. So I like that. And then my prop for Jags Lions is we just talked about him. I always try to have 1 lower than. Yeah. It keeps you honest. It's a good for those of you guys that bet. I always recommend try to have 1 or 2 lower thans. It's just a good exercise. It gives you more confidence in just like calling like, hey, this is not going to go the way it's supposed to.
Well, a lot of the sports books inflate a lot of the things for the bigger name guys.
Yeah, so they know that the public usually bets about 70-75% higher thans, and so they get to shade it the correct way to take advantage of the market perception. I got BTJ lower than 4.5 receptions. He might catch a touchdown, he might catch a huge bomb, but I don't think he catches 5 passes. Okay. And I also like Monty higher than 57.5 rushing yards. I think he can probably hit that in the 4th quarter when they're running it out. And I just think he's going to be on the field for so often. That's why I like your higher than 1.5 receptions. I think he's going to be on the field so often.
Yeah, they're going to want to keep Gibbs nice and fresh.
Yeah, I'm with you. So I like both of those. But
I mean, Jags are 31st against the running back in the, fantasy points allowed. I definitely can see that happening here. So, all right, cool. So let's move on to the Raiders, who are 2-7, coming off the bye, coming to Miami to face the Dolphins, who are 3-6. Miami is favored by 7 in this game. The over/under is 44. Injuries to just take note of. I don't know if he's off the report. He might be listed as questionable, but Tyreek Hill practiced Thursday, wrist and foot. He's good to go. He's fine. Raiders are healthy coming off the bye, so that's good for them. It's always good to come back from the bye and be healthy and not have to, worry too much about injuries and such. So from there, let's talk about last week real quick. So the Dolphins floundered.
Nice.
Yeah, I tried. Last week versus the Rams in a tough finish. I mean, they did well overall. They won, but it was all defensive. They did very well on defense, but it wasn't the offense. The offense didn't look good. Tyreek did get his touchdown, but Tyreek is nursing his wrist injury. Tua had 20 completed, passes. A-Chain had a mediocre night. So is this a get right game for the Dolphins versus the porous Raiders defense?
I want to say yes, but I don't think so yet.
Okay.
I want to see them have sort of a get right game, but I feel like this is the type of offense where a get right game is an efficient game for Tua.
Okay.
But the offense doesn't produce prolific numbers. Something about their play calling feels very conservative. There's a lot of short yardage. The ADOT's massively lower. I mean, Tyreek's injury maybe has something to do with that, but honestly, I don't think it is.
Yeah.
I am concerned that the team is just playing very safe with anything. I think Tua's injury rattled the entire team. Their season feels over, and I feel like now the deep shots aren't there. The aggressive,
they're not taking anything. No.
Until I see a drastic change in the play calling, I feel like it doesn't matter what the game script is. I don't see explosivity in most of the lineup.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're starting Tua, you're starting HN, you're starting Tyreek, right? But I'm not touching Waddle. Jonnu is honestly not really on my radar because tight ends need to be able to catch a touchdown. I just don't see the touchdown volume. They really like HN I would really like for a touchdown because he seems to, like, whether he catches it or rushes it in, it seems like he's the guy they want in the end zone. It was nice to scheme Tyreek open. I think that was to keep him happy.
Yeah.
But I do I think they like beat the Raiders? Absolutely. Do I think like the over-under's 44? I think I really like the lower than on this one.
It just seems like a defensive, like what we saw last night. You know,
Miami's defense is actually pretty legit.
Yeah, they're good. I'm actually playing the defense this week.
They have so many offensive superstars where their defense goes underrated. The Raiders,
they're also
their D-line.
They got a lot of pieces to their defense back. Javon Holland just came back from injury. They also had Slater. I always get his name wrong. Their defensive tackle came back. They have Calais Campbell, who's been killing it at 38 years old.
Yeah,
really just playing great ball and really getting in, getting up there really high and just putting his hand on it. I mean, he really stopped Stafford most of the game last week. So, I mean, I like their defense of all things this week. I really do. I think that's the one thing that I'm actually really happy about. The Raiders defense has a really good pass rush. It's just the rest of it is kind of porous. Their run defense is 27th against the running back, while their in this case their wide receiver play is a little bit better. So they're good against the pass, not against the run. We'll have to wait and see how this one turns out and how well they run things. They're a little better at home. They have a 7-point favorite. I'm hoping that this is a good matchup for their, overall, but this is going to be a very odd game. So let's go to the Raiders side of the ball. Who do you think has a big game from the Raiders? Raiders are coming off the bye. New offensive coordinator currently there. What direction do you see this offense moving? Who should benefit the most coming back from the bye?
Brock Bowers and
Oh, beyond Bowers. Yeah, let's take Bowers out of that because we all know that he's the linchpin here.
Honestly, Jacoby Myers is hyper underrated.
I agree.
I'm just going to throw this out there right now. If you want the cheapest, because his name value is so much lower than his production, he's one of those 100%. Aberrations where his production, him and Mooney are my guys. Where like the name brings him down, but their production, like Mooney's the wide receiver 8. Yeah. He's a mid wide receiver 1. Myers is averaging like 10 targets a game. And he's very good with them. And look at his separator score. He's a good wide receiver, guys. He doesn't just get hyper targeted. He's a separator. He gets NFL open, which is hard to do. How many guys do you see like not make it in this league as good college prospects? And he just keeps being talked about as a middling guy. He's winning at the NFL level.
Oh, yeah.
That's nearly impossible for non-superstars. He's super good. I think Jacoby Myers is massively underrated. If you can snipe him in Dynasty or redraft, I'm picking him up for whatever I can find, really, because I think he's going to massively overproduce whatever you pay for him.
I completely agree on all fronts. How do you feel about Alexander Madison? Is
unstartable? You can't trust it. It's becoming a 3-headed backfield. They're dead, so you're going to see some Dylan Loeb in there. And look, once they might mix in 4 backs at this point. I mean, none of them are startable. None of them are going to get you a game unless they fall into the end zone. They're hyper inefficient across the board. I think it's really, really ugly for all of them. I wouldn't start any of them without an injury.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I like the Dylan Lobby take. I hope they get him a little bit more involved. Unfortunately, I don't think they do. He had a fumble loss a couple of weeks ago, and it was his only touch that he's had all year.
Yeah, it was pretty ugly.
Which is unfortunate, and he's in that. And Pierce is an old-time coach. I can see him being a little bit of a doghouse situation for him. But I do see Madison as being somewhat benchable, someone that you can keep on your bench and at least on your roster so you can keep for if and when something happens. They used him a lot near the end of their, right before their bye. So I don't hate Madison. I think he's the one that I trust a little more than the other two.
Yeah, I trust him with that, but like I would start like Spears over him. There are so many RB, like there's so many backups. I would start Braylon Allen over him straight up.
Let's put it to you this way. I mean, Alexander Madison's well below my, he's RB 28 on my rankings. Not crazy low, but he's not crazy high either. So we got a lot to kind of see, and we want to see how this whole backfield turns out before we get anybody started. But for now,
ugly game. Like if you have a bunch of players on these teams, you're not winning your league. You know this. You don't have positive records, so it is what it is. How do we make some money on this game?
So some props that we got. I got my prop is Jonnu Smith higher than 2.5 receptions. He's been a lot more involved in the offense as of late. They use him a little bit more because he's a bigger receiver.
Good
yak yard, and on top of that, I think it has a lot to do with what you just talked about in the context of, Tua being a little bit nervous to throw the ball downfield as of late. You could tell he hasn't tried throwing it downfield to Tyreek. I don't know if that's a Tyreek problem or a him problem, but if it is, because, Tyreek dealing with the foot. But my thing is that Jonnu Smith has been a really good safety blanket underneath in the intermediate route where he is, Tua is still an accurate passer. He's a good with quick passes to the, intermediate routes. I feel like it is a very good spot for a guy like Jonnu Smith. So I'm going to get him at higher than 2.5. I think that's more than reasonable for him. If anything, they could really get him involved against this Raiders defense. I know he's going to be going against Cisco, who is, Diablo, who is going to be the one guy that he's going to be facing. Sorry, I mix up Cisco and Diablo all the time because their jersey numbers are the same. They have
guys, if you're in an IDP league, Classic is one of the best analysts I know at IDP. Like, there's very few analysts that touch IDP.
I will defer to the to Dynasty Pylon, good old Martin, who I will be on a show with in a week, which I'm very happy about. We're going to combine our Sunday morning show, so stay tuned for that.
Do check him out though. If you're IDP, like there's few channels that get it and get it right.
The other guy I will tell you to look out for, and one guy that you should really reach out or follow on Twitter or on Blue Sky or wherever you're currently at, is Matthew. Montgomery. Sorry, Matt. Matthew Montgomery. He's very good. He's from Football Guys. He does their IDP column for them. He's very smart about all that stuff. I reach out to him for a lot of things too. Martin as well. Martin is one of my favorite guys to talk to about IDP. Him and Mark know a lot about it. So follow them, on YouTube. Make sure you guys are liking, subscribing to them. They're great. Always. And, like I said, I can't wait to be on the show with them next week. I'm going to be on a couple shows next week, so it's going to be fun.
Hey, our boy Famous over here. How do you make money in this game, man?
In what way? You're up.
Am I up? Oh, wait. You did. Let me tell you how
I
you
did,
make
Johnny.
money. This is such a smash bet. Bowers
Oh.
higher than 5.5 receptions. He's had 5 catches the last 2 games, but if you look at the first half of the season, I mean, it was just 7-8 catches every single game.
Oh, yeah.
I think he returns to form. I mean, 5 catches is his low point, and he's at 5.5. This just seems super chalky. I mean, look, bad things can happen, but I think this is just a smash, 60-70% play. So yeah, Bowers higher than 5.5 receptions.
Okay, I like it. I don't care if it's chalky. I still like it. So let's move on to the Rams versus the Patriots. Rams are favored by 4.5 points. They're going to be heading out to face the Patriots, who are 3-7. Both teams looking to really fight to keep in somewhat of a playoff race. Over under for this game is 43.5. Injuries, there really aren't a ton for the Patriots. There aren't really many that we have to worry about. They have a couple on defense that you don't really need to worry about. But the Rams do have a little bit of an issue. They are losing their right tackle and left tackle. Havenstein and Noteboom, who are just coming back from IR and getting back from injury, they're hurt again. So right now, Noteboom is listed as doubtful, but I just rule him out just because there's no point in, doubtful's out. I mean, let's talk about the Rams side of the ball. Now that I brought up them, I mean, who do you think right now that, we have Cooper, Kupp, and Puka Nacua, they're coming back from injury. They're both healthy. Who's in line to be the alpha receiver out of these two moving forward?
Neither. They're both going to be what they're going to be. The guy who scores more is going to be the guy that gets in the end zone. But I see them both as 8 to 12 target, hyper-focused type of situations. I think Kupp is a little more downfield than Puka. Puka is a little more short yardage, but has some solid yak to him. Okay. But again, not a huge difference. I don't look at them as the 1A and 1B. I look at them as the 1A and the 1A, and it just is what it is. Stafford is an elite veteran quarterback. He throws to the guy that's open. He can get to a first, second, third read very, very well. So because of that, I don't look at him as a 1 and 2. It's just, you're firing them both up, of course. Yeah. And I think they're both going to have in PPR, they're both going to smash. It's going to be who gets in the end zone has the big game.
Yeah, I'm unfortunate to have both in one league and need to run both in that particular league because I really don't have many other options other than Puka and Kupp. I do have Tyreek Hill, who has been underwhelming, and then I'm playing Cortland Sutton this week because that's another game that I'm excited about and hope he does well in. So we'll see how that goes. Maybe I missed my opportunity to play him, and I hope he doesn't get the 0. So let's go to the Patriots side of the ball. Is there anybody on the Patriots that you can trust in your lineup this week? Is Ramondre Stevenson worth playing? Is Demario Douglas worth playing?
Demario Douglas, I can't trust because he's not a red zone threat, and his ADOT's not good enough. So even on he's a guy that even on 10 targets just still can't produce 10 fantasy points, which is kind of a problem for me. I like Stevenson. I mean, he's involved in a lot of ways. He's still a good running back. He's still been quite efficient. But I've actually watched some of the Patriot games. Unfortunately, I did because the Bears were playing. Yeah, no, I mean, for real, Stevenson's a good running back. He's in a god-awful offense, but he's not a bad back, so he can still hit 4 yards a carry. He can still have volume. He's got the third down role locked up. He's still a good pass catcher. He's not super elite, but he's getting 20-point games where he didn't think he would. So yeah, I still think you can trust Stevenson. Just look at his game log, and you're going to see he's had some impressive games where you wouldn't expect him to, and he's just highly involved. And with that involvement, he doesn't disappoint as much as you might think he would because you expect everyone on that team to do so. Lastly, I think Henry is quite nice. Sometimes he doesn't get there because he's a tight end, and that happens. But the underlying metrics say he is one of the league leaders in red zone target percentage. He's just massively unlucky, but he is their red zone guy. So if there's a tight end I trust to get the red zone looks and to possibly come down with 1 or 2, it's Henry. And so he's one of my favorite tight end streamers this week. I picked him up and played him over Kincaid in I think 2 or 3 leagues. I like him over guys like Gesicki. Disley is kind of a popular pick this week. I like him over Disley. I like Disley. I just don't think Disley has the touchdown chops that Hunter Henry does. I mean, Hunter Henry is legitimate, elite touchdown for him. Red zone percentages where Will Disley is open, but I don't see him as a big red zone guy. I mean, that team likes to run the ball anyways. It's very difficult to see him getting many red zone touches.
Yeah, we're not going to be talking about that game tonight. Make sure you guys stay tuned for Phil and Rasta, and they will talk about that game in a little bit. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Will Disley. Just really hope he can do well this week. But yeah, Hunter Henry is right next to him in my book. I think he can do very well this week. So let's go to our props, and mine is Demario Douglas higher than 3.5 receptions. If you can't tell from those that watch, I do a lot of the reception calls because their numbers are always a little bit lower than a lot of the sports books and stuff, and it's a lot easier to hit on these than it is to hit on the sports book ones where they inflate it a little bit. But Demario Douglas at 3.5 seems to be a number that he can reach. I definitely see him being in that range. Negative game script, 4.5, 43 point over under. I definitely see them needing to stay in it. And what are they going to need to do is throw the ball to he's their lead receiver. Let's just make it clear. He is their lead receiver, other than, of course, Hunter Henry, if you want to throw him as the number, 1B. But I think that it is definitely doable for 3.5. Well, in this case, 4 for this particular prop. What about you?
Yeah, I think that's sharp because I hate his yardage totals, but I see him as a guy has high targets, therefore high receptions, but his yardage should be lower. But I think like the betting algorithms will artificially lower his receptions. But I think he's a guy that can have a crazy low ADOT with catches.
For sure.
So I think that's the sharp side of that bet. This is my favorite bet on the week. What I might call a 5 or 10% play. Like I might throw a little extra juice on this one compared to my normal bet. Puka's line is 5.5 receptions. I am absolutely smashing the higher than 5.5 receptions. Okay. This just seems ludicrous to me. Puka's like a 7 catch a game guy for the rest of his career. Like that's just how it's going to be because he's fantastic at getting open. He's fantastic at contested catches. The guy is savvy, man. Like he's a half decent route runner. And now that Kupp is back, there is absolutely no way you can guard both. It's just not going to happen. No. Now, whether you want to play a prevent style situation and just limit his options, that's fine. But I don't see, like if there's a world where, if Puka somehow gets to 5, like this is that game where he has like 5 for 7, 120 yards, 2 touchdowns, but he catches 5 balls. Fine. I'll lose the bet, but the process was absolutely right. But, he just seems to be he seems to be Stafford's kind of safety valve. Like I almost think he's the first read in that he's looking for Kupp downfield. Yeah, because they see what he can do with those. Kupp is savvy. Kupp, he's one of the absolute sexiest players at his like break move.
Oh, for sure.
It's really good.
His route running is incredible.
But I really feel like he's used in that 10 to 20 yard range, way better than Puka, where I think Puka within 5 to 15 yards is hyper elite. And because of that, he tends to soak up targets. Yeah. Puka's like a third down magic in the underneath type of stuff. So yeah, I'm putting an uncomfortable amount of money on this one. We'll put it that way.
If he could have made that one catch, it would have really helped at the end of that.
It wouldn't have been bad.
I lost my biggest dynasty match. I was down like 40 or something like that.
30, you're down 36.
36, there we go. And I'm coming back from that. Everything's going good. I'm like, oh my God, I'm doing okay. And then I keep looking, and it's within 1. And I'm like, oh my God. And third down.
And you need one catch for
it. I'm like, no. And the second down pass was right to him, and he just missed it. And I'm like, oh, okay, they can go for 3. They have 2 more downs to go for a touchdown. They're on like the 12-yard line. They can do this. It can happen. Sean McVay, piece of shit. Anyway, we'll
talk about the game theory about that another day. But I think modern coaches have that play absolutely wrong.
It's completely wrong. You do not kick a field goal with third down to then get the ball back when you could easily get more points doing that. I was blown away. Anyway, let's move on before I ruin the show about this. Let's talk about the Browns versus the Saints. Browns are 2-7 versus the Saints, who are 3-7. This is a push right now. This is a clear push. The over-under is 44. This might change leading up to the game, but right now that's what we got. It was originally at the Saints being 1-point favorites. So we can definitely, we're going to talk about why that might be the case, but I don't think it's this injury, to say the least.
I think it's crazy that might be the case.
It might be, but it's Jamal Williams did not practice all week. He's listed as out this week. They got their center, Eric McCoy, back returning from injury. He's going to be back and healthy, so he's good to go. Browns are pretty healthy coming off the bye. There are no real injuries. They're getting all their linemen back, which is all they've been needing. I mean, honestly, it's been a long time since they've had everybody. So at this point, I mean, let's talk about the big news that happened from last week. Last week, we saw the emergence of the newly acquired MVS. I can never get his first name right.
Marquez
Valdez-Scantling to the Saints lineup. He's, now playing that lead wide receiver with Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed out. How do we feel about him this week? Is he a solid flex play moving forward?
I'm not even starting him.
Interesting.
Even
with his involvement?
He had a 75% chance to drop every one of those catches.
Oh, 100%. I'm
because
surprised
the ball was
in
his vicinity. He's a god-awful wide receiver.
Yeah.
Everything went his way. Like, don't get me wrong. Did I pick him up in, like, Dynasty? Yeah. Did I laugh at the people that picked him up in redraft and wait for their, like, tears? Yeah. No, I'm so... Look, the Saints were disappointing you with Olave. You think MVS is going to... No. Like, no, it's not going to happen. The offense is weird. You never know when it's going to be a Taysom Hill game. You never know when Kamara is going to get a 75% target share. They're just a goofy team.
Well, they're currently running. So last week they ran Mason Tipton and Kevin Austin. Never heard of these two guys other than the last few weeks. And they had MVS be that guy in this particular case where he was the main one involved. I don't know what to think about this particular grouping other than Kamara, Taysom Hill, and
that's it. That's it for me. Kamara and Taysom Hill.
Look,
MVS is like one of those not good on you, coach. Good on you, Carr, for knowing that if I was the opposing secondary, okay, MVS, I'm not even gonna mark you because you're your own worst enemy. You're that bad, right?
Yeah, fair enough.
If that game plan becomes MVS is their only prayer, give him even a half-ass defender. I could go and guard him. No, I'm so off of him. I think it's such fool's gold. If he catches a bomb, fine. Are you starting Alec Pierce?
Yeah.
It's one of those Alec Pierce is so inconsistent unless he catches a 60-yard bomb from Anthony Richardson. It's the same thing with MVS, but it's a worse offense in many ways. So I mean,
he only got 3 targets. He was the second receiver really with 3 for 3 and 109 last week with 2 touchdowns against the Falcons. So do I think he can do it this week against the Browns? Probably not. Browns are a little bit more, they're a lot better at pass rush than, so I think this is going to be a little bit more of a difficult game for MVS, but definitely a Kamara, Taysom Hill type game. They're going to be heavily used when they can. Before the bye, let's talk about the Browns now. So before the bye, we had Cedric Tillman having a good couple of weeks, after they let go of Amari Cooper. He's been doing well. We had Nick Chubb another week removed from the ACL surgery. We finally get, the Browns finally get an offensive line. Jameis Winston another week with the playbook and kind of getting an idea of what's going on here. So how do we feel about the Browns offense moving forward? Should fantasy managers be invested in this particular team and redraft, or who do you think is going to be the main guy to focus on for the Browns?
I'm invested. I think this is one of those spots to gain that 5-10% edge that I think people are sleeping on. And dude, Jameis is throwing 50 balls a game. They're losing. They got no hope. Go have fun, Jameis. They beat the Ravens. They legitimately beat the Ravens.
Yeah.
That happened.
Yeah.
That should be an unwinnable game. I mean, that should be a 0%er, and they did it. Jameis is a baller. We've literally seen this. This is not me talking crazy. All of you have seen this before, right? And their receiving core is actually really, really good. I think it's better than when they had Amari Cooper.
Interesting.
Because Amari's not even wide receiver anymore. He's not. He doesn't play football. He's professionally injured. So Jerry Jeudy is just a guy. But when you combine Jerry Judy's just a guy with Tillman, who I actually kind of liked in the draft process, right? combine that with Elijah Moore, who was a great college player. He's talented.
Oh, yeah.
He's struggling
Incredibly
at the NFL level, but he was talented. I scouted and drafted him. And then David Njoku is an elite tight end. He is my tight end 1 on the week in projections. Like, I think he is an absolute smash 20-point game guy this week. So when you include all of that together, it's very tough to guard everybody, and Jameis has no loyalty to everybody. He just wants to throw it often and far. And when you can have talent across the board where there's no necessarily weak link, I think that can lead to something pretty good. So I like a lot of them. I am starting Jameis in a lot of spots as a streamer. Controversial, I'm starting Jameis over Sam Darnold.
Wow. Okay.
So, I mean, I know that's aggressive, but I think it's the better play in the long run. I think Chubb, the Saints defense, is pretty porous against the run. I think Chubb has his best game of the season.
Okay.
I think Judy is still their first read, and I think he's okay. I don't think that I see Judy as a 10 target guy. So I am starting Judy. I like Chubb. Tillman's okay. I don't know, between Tillman and Moore, I think you're going to see some volatility. And I think Njoku's a league play. So that is so many more players in the Browns than I ever imagined I would say at a 2-7 Browns team. But I think people are sleeping on them. Like, I hate saying this because I'm literally trying to trade for many of them in Dynasty right now. So, like, I guess that's out of the bag and no one's going to do it anymore. But, like, I think Jerry Jeudy is being slept on in terms of, like, rest of season, Jerry Jeudy or DJ Moore. The fact that it takes you more than a second to think about that says everything. It's more anti-DJ Moore, but it's not necessarily that bad for Jerry Jeudy. Look at his box score with Jameis. It's decent. So I think Jerry Judy's being slept on. He's only 25. I like him a little bit. So I'm not going to go on a longer Browns rant because, God forbid, that's just not the hill I'm going to die on. But there you go.
No, I like it. I like it a lot. I've always been a fan of Cedric Tillman, through his, college career and then moving on to the pros. He's definitely somebody I've been keeping my eye on. And, I just traded him away a couple of weeks ago, but it was more of a win now type scenario where, I needed a guy like DeAndre Hopkins or something like that I felt the necessary need to get rid of him. And, it was the right time to sell. So, at the same time, I do think he can do very well for your team if you need him. So, yeah, I do like him. I'm a little nervous about Nick Chubb, but I do think that this is a matchup that he can excel in. I'm still holding off on starting him as of right now. I do have better options in a lot of the leagues that I do, but if you're in a situation that you don't, Nick Chubb, you can load him up. Props for this game. Taysom Hill for me, higher than 24.5 rushing yards. I looked at these props all afternoon. I was trying to figure out which one to do for this game. It was really difficult because they didn't really have a lot of props for the Saints. And at this point, the one that I liked was Taysom Hill's rushing yards. They tried doing a combo thing of trying to get both, and it was way more than what it should have been. So I'm going to be, I know that he had an 80-yard touchdown call back last week. I know it was a big deal. Everybody's been blowing up about it. I think he can handle, 24 rushing yards without a problem against this Cleveland defense. I understand they're good against the run. They're 8th best against, running backs. I definitely think he finds a way to make it work. He's involved in short yardage. I think he can definitely hit this number.
I like it. I'm going Jameis higher than 22.5 completions. I just think he throws the ball 40 times. Not too hard for him to complete that many passes. He's hit that mark the last 2 games. And I also like Nick Chubb higher than 64.5 rushing yards. If he's going to do it, it's against this porous defense. I think he's going to have an elite 75% snap share. I think he probably gets the rock 15, 18 times. And if he can just average 4 yards a carry, which he has historically done, not lately, but I think if he's going to do it, it's here.
Okay. I like it. I want to see the resurgence of Chubb. Hopefully that can happen sooner rather than later. All right, we're going to jump into our last game of the evening that we're going to be talking about. It is the Colts versus the Jets. Jets are favored by 4 in this game. The over-under is 43.5. Right now, the biggest news, it's not really injury news, but it's Anthony Richardson is going to be starting at quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts. But I thought it was Joe Flacco. Oh, no, never mind.
Joe
It's
Flacco is our
Anthony.
quarterback for the rest of the season, right?
Yeah, so it is Anthony Richardson. They changed their mind like Tuesday or Wednesday. So now Anthony Richardson will be starting at quarterback for the Colts. Michael Pittman is back as well. He practiced in full all week long with his back injury. He's ready to go. Just a little bit of news on their particular offensive line right now. They are going to be running with 3 rookies this week. They have a lot of injuries so far, but they're going to have 3 rookie offensive linemen this Sunday. Kind of rough. I'm assuming Quentin Nelson's going to be out there. He's been fine, but they're going to have rookie left tackle, right tackle, and I think left guard, or they have another tackle. I always forget their particular situation, but I do know that they're going to have 3 offensive linemen that are rookies out there. For the Jets side of the ball, Devontae Adams, he's been dealing with an illness and a wrist injury. He's good to go. Don't worry. He got a full practice in today. He's ready. He'll be out there. Unfortunately, their left tackle, Tyron Smith, former Cowboy, is going to be out. He was ruled out this week with a neck injury. If you don't know any history about Tyron Smith, Pro Bowler, he's a Hall of Fame left tackle. He will be. I'm just going to call it now. He's had a lot of issues with neck problems in the past. Just know that this could linger for those Jets fans out there that are hoping that he comes back sooner rather than later. This is going to be a tough one for him to come back from. Hopefully he, heals up. I love that he's still playing. He's one of the best left tackles I've seen in my lifetime. So I hope we get to see him back next week. So let's talk about the elephant in the room. Going back and forth. Went from Anthony to Joe, back to Anthony. So now we're getting Anthony Richardson back. How does this affect the offense as a whole? Who is going to be benefiting from this? Who takes the hit? Who's the one that ends up doing well in this offense? What do we got?
I think across the board, they all take a little bit of a hit, at least temporarily. His accuracy is still a little bit of an issue, right?
100%.
His deep ball is still really great and all, but that's one of those. It's not a sticky stat. It's hard to know who it's going to. I mean, it's probably Alec Pierce, like it normally is, who tends to get a little bit loose, but you can also that could go to a lot of people, right? So I think the pass catchers get a slight downgrade, but I do think Flacco was pretty awful, to be honest. So I think
he wasn't the end of the year last year, Flacco.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those. Anthony Richardson, if they're doing the right things, should get better over time if they give him a little bit of time. So, I'm not expecting big things in this game. The Jets have a great secondary. I think it's a pretty awful matchup for him. I want to wait and see. I don't want to be the guy that's giving you hot take predictions on a game that's realistically very unpredictable. And I think I'm gonna watch this game carefully, because I think it's a game to gain an edge, where I'm going to look at the types of play calling. I'm going to look at tendencies. I'm going to look at third down tendencies. I'm going to gain a lot from this game to figure out what to do next. And I'm going to learn a lot from that game too, based on what they change game 1 to 2. And this is one of those micro situations where I think there's a lot of edges to gain, because it's an uncertain situation with a lot of volatility. But if you're asking me what my opinion, what my take is, how I can help you, it's just one of those games where it's so uncertain for even the best of us. That it just is what it is, right? So you're going to start who you're going to start, but I think you downgrade all their pass catchers, at least on the safe side of things, and you go from there.
How does Jonathan Taylor look moving forward? Do you think he's a little bit of a bump comparatively to everybody else?
I think it goes both ways. I mean, I think his usage can't go any higher, because they use him 120% of the time if that were theoretically possible, right? But it's just not. So I don't think he goes up or down. He's pretty static. He's going to get as many carries as they'll allow him to. I think he's going to average close to 5. He looks fantastic on the field. He looks very, very good. I think he's going to continue to be good. I think he's going to be the 20 carry probably. I mean, he's going to have a greater than 50% chance to fall into the end zone most games. So I think you're very happy if you own JT in general. But the pass catchers are pretty uncertain.
Okay. So let's talk about the Jets' offensive side of the ball. Jets have been up and down a little bit. You can say that they've had really good games and really bad games since they got Devontae Adams in the mix. They had a good week last week against the Cardinals. Brees Hall has been taking a small hit. He hasn't been doing as good as people want him to be, but still involved in the offense. So is Garrett Wilson. He's in a small way, except for their one big game a couple weeks ago. He's been kind of mediocre in, his usage. Is this the week we get to see their offense kind of running on all cylinders and produce like the Packers of old, where everybody is going to have a good game and everybody's going to, benefit from Rodgers spreading the ball out and doing his thing?
Well, it depends if he's really washed or not, right? And I got to be honest, I don't know. He looked pretty washed last game. He just didn't look good. He didn't play good.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a bad spot. This is a pretty soft defense. If he can't do it here, I think we have to take note of that going forward. And I think it's a pretty significant note. It's very similar to Richardson and where it should be. So if it's not, I'm going to take that into serious consideration, but it should be. This should be a softer matchup for all the pass catchers and Brees. I think this is more of a Brees game than the pass catchers in terms of efficiency. Brees was the one lone bright spot last week. He was still averaging 5 yards a carry. He looked very good. It was just a situation where you can't run the ball when you're losing by that much, but he was the one thing that was working. This wasn't enough. And I think that continues this game, but we'll see what happens with the pass catchers. I'm still starting them both, but I don't. Vegas telling you the over-under being that low when the Jets should run over them tells you they think that both offenses are going to struggle, and it's going to be a very similar game to the what we just saw on Thursday night. And so maybe some big plays change it. Saquon is the reason that score got to what it was, not because the offense was functioning a particular way. I am anticipating this being kind of an ugly game. It's a one to watch, or at least pay attention to see what the Jets offense does. I can't project them super high, though, to be honest. You're still starting who you're starting, but I have hesitations.
Okay, fair enough. So let's talk about our props for this particular game. First and foremost, I have Jonathan Taylor higher than 1.5 receptions. I just like this particular matchup. The negative game script shows that they're going to have to dump it off to him at least once or twice. I know Anthony Richardson isn't the best at doing this, but he might have to kind of change the way he plays a little bit to kind of conform, if you will, and be a little bit more understanding of, hey, he's there to help you within 10 feet. Pass him the damn ball and let him run. We'll see how it goes. The number was just too low for me not to take.
Yeah, it feels similar to the Swift bet where he's going to be on the field a lot in a negative game script, and it just makes sense.
Yeah.
So it should happen unless they're really stupid. So I agree.
Yeah.
I'm going Brees Hall higher than 67.5 rushing yards.
Yeah,
I just think he's going to average 5 yards plus a carry. Maybe he breaks off a big one. He's been known to. He hasn't done one yet. I think he's probably due for one. This is a good defense to do it against. And I think if they can lean heavier on the run to run open the pass, they would have loved to do that last game. They couldn't do it. I think they'd like to do it in this spot. And I think they will. So I really do see him hitting closer to I could see 80, 90 yard rushing game for him. So this number feels a little bit low for a matchup they should smoke.
Oh yeah, for sure. I definitely think that he can hit that number without thinking twice, especially against this matchup who I'm looking at all the stats for both the running back and wide receiver for the Colts. They're all under 20.
Brees is a good buy low right now, actually. I think he's one of the players, based on how ugly last week was, I think you're never going to get a lower price on Brees than you are right now. It's a nice pocket. So maybe that for what it's worth,
Yeah, I do like it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to that time just for you guys. We are here for live Q&A for all of you guys. We do have a few in the chat that we're going to get to. If you have any questions, throw them in the chat now. We will get to them as we go. We're going to be starting at the very top and working our way down. But once we get to your question, we got you. So first, we're going to be starting with Brian 1131. What's going on, Brian? Great to have you here. He goes, are you playing Will Dissly, Dawson Knox, or Tyler Conklin as your tight end? Half PPR.
I have Dawson Knox, then Dissly, then Conklin.
Interesting. Okay.
I have Dawson Knox mostly because, if all of them were healthy, but Kincaid is out, I'd have to check on Keon's stats. But there's just so many players out in the crazy matchup that I think Dawson Knox has the chance for high targets plus falling in the end zone, where the other two just don't have both sides of those. So Dawson Knox is the sort of theoretical best play.
Okay, fair enough. I have Will Dissly at 10 in my rankings. Good matchup against the Cincinnati Bengals this week. So I do like it a lot, especially, even with Winston Johnson there. I think that if anything, that helps him. Just takes a little bit of coverage off. Bengals are 30th against the tight end. I do like him in PPR formatting, but at the same time, if it's half, I don't mind that either. Just means he's involved. Yeah, he needs to get a touchdown to be worth it. He will get you at least the 8 points that you're trying to get from your particular tight end. So I do like him. He's a little bit more of a floor play than I would be a ceiling play. The ceiling play for me is definitely Dawson Knox out of this group. So yeah, I agree with you there, but I'm gonna be a little bit more towards Dissly than I would be Knox in this scenario. Let's move on to I'm gonna butcher this name.
The my
Premier.
boy. I am
There
in
we go.
so many leagues with this wonderful human being.
Nice.
And honestly, I don't think I've ever spoken. It's one of those, sometimes you never actually meet your fantasy friends. You know what I mean? You don't have a real chat. So Depp, we got to fix that one of these days, because I've been in leagues with him for years. Actually, that he runs a very large grid. They have
great.
probably 30, 40 leagues. They're all in this kind of giant conglomerate community. And it is one of the most just holistic best groups. I can't say enough good things
That's awesome.
about him and his group. Really good stuff. RIP Sergeant Rock Depp, you know what I'm talking about. Super good stuff going on here. Super happy to hit this question though.
So we got Kyler and Neighbors or Burrow and Hill rest of the season. I'm assuming this is redraft. I could be wrong. Either way, I'm going to treat it as redraft until I hear different.
Fair.
So Kyler and Neighbors or Burrow and Hill, which one do you like?
Tyreek Hill, right? I think that's
I'm assuming
right.
it's Tyreek Hill. Yeah.
Okay, I am not a Kyler fan. I know that's a hot take, but guys, his passing yardage is abysmal. When he doesn't rush for 2 touchdowns, it's rough, man. And I think the emergence of Benson actually makes them even more of a run-heavy team. I'm going to go with Burrow Hill. I think there's better days ahead for Hill. There has to be. Obviously, Neighbors is Neighbors, right? Me and you are both I just spent 3 first-round picks. Right? Yeah. I backed up the damn truck. But I think it's Burrow. Burrow is so much better than Kyler compared to Hill Neighbors. I think Burrow's the difference for me. Kyler can be a low-end quarterback one some weeks, where I think Burrow consistently has just been elite. Burrow by himself can cover Kyler Neighbors 50% of the time. I'm running with Burrow plus X, and that X could be worse than Hill.
I see where you're coming from, and I agree to a point. I do like Burrow a lot in this particular scenario. I mean, you're 100% right.
4-point passing touchdown maybe is worth mentioning, right? Because that really sways it a little bit. I gotta be honest. Even in that situation, I'm still taking Burrow, though. That's how confident I am that
4-point.
Oh my goodness, Burrow's 55-point game goes down to 40. It's it's still too damn good.
The thing is that Kyler's rushing floor is better than Burrow's, but at the same time, Burrow can keep up with all of it. Now he gets T Higgins back. He has a full offensive weaponry of everything. He's got everything he needs.
They don't run the ball. They run the ball through the air.
Well, that was my point. They will throw
There's no rushing vulturing happening there at all.
So I'm going to agree with you, but I don't know if I like the drop that Hill has been giving you recently. Yes, Hill is an elite wide receiver. The problem is the last few weeks, he hasn't, at least the last 4 or 5 weeks, he has not been playing to the Tyreek Hill that you think he is. So it's one of those things where would I rather have the eliteness and volume of Neighbors, hoping and praying that Daniel Jones is the quarterback and not Drew Lock when we come back from the bye, or a porous wide receiver, porous quarterback? Or do I want to go with the elite the elite quarterback with the in this particular context wide receiver?
And this is probably a trade question for the most part, right? When you're comparing 2 for 2, I'm going Burrow and Hill because I don't care about Hill. Burrow might win me a title. Like Burrow himself, like in that championship game, we know that like if first and second always split prize
Yeah,
money. If
I'm
fantasy
leaning
was more
Burrow Hill.
tiered,
I wanted to give a little bit more to it.
yeah. Now the weird thing is, I don't think Cincy has that. Like Cincinnati does not have the greatest, I think, playoff schedule this year.
No, their particular,
unfortunately, but still, it's still Burrow. Like when he throws 3 touchdowns, I'm almost disappointed.
Burrow is like near the end of the list. I mean, they're like right in the middle right now of their strength of schedule coming up. Kyler is a little bit more towards the top, but honestly, I'd rather go with Burrow and Hill here. We have Anthony going. Remember when people were selling Burrow and Chase for that matter? Now Burrow is QB3 and Chase is wide receiver 1. So yeah, of course. Don't want to sell unless you absolutely have to. I do.
I tried so hard to buy him everywhere I could. I couldn't.
I drafted him. So we got DFS DFS
God. Yeah.
God. We got half PPR trade. All right.
Okay.
Chase Brown, Debo, and Downs for Brees and Cup. Yes. The answer is yes.
Oh, I'm definitely doing that. And savvy trade while you're at it, dude. That's nice.
Not thinking twice about this unless it's redraft. Or sorry, if it's dynasty, if it's redraft, take it and run, bro. Take it and run.
That's nice. It's savvy, believe me. But like Downs rest of season, I love him, but I just
traded for him too.
Downs, Jacoby Myers, I kind of take Jacoby over him. There's Downs is so replaceable in the rest of the season. And Debo's good, not great, to be honest. I think he's gonna have way better days. I think Chase Brown just probably had the best game of the season. Yeah. But I think better days for Brees, certainly better days for Cup. Now that Puka's healthy, I think all them being full strength. Yeah, I like Brees. Brees Cup is like the league winning play.
Brees has
if it doesn't like it gives you a better chance to win your league. It's volatile, but it's definitely a better chance to win.
Brees has a better schedule moving forward. So do the Rams. Have a favorable schedule as well. So I do like that a lot. So let's move on to CXL34. What's going on, brother? Great to have you here. He goes, would you trade Jamar Chase and Garrett Wilson for CMC and Mike Evans? Other wide receivers on his team are CD St. Brown. What the hell?
What? 10 team, I guess this can happen.
Maybe. Running back is Henry, Walker, Tracy, and White. Jeez, so you're stacked at running back. You are stacked at wide receiver.
Not doing it, though.
I'm not doing it. I'm sorry.
CMC is highly risky, and Mason is too damn good. And if they blow anybody out, CMC doesn't stay in the field.
I don't see it that way. I see it more of, yes, having CMC makes sense, and I get why you're trying to do it, but you're giving away a lot of your depth for a guy like him. Yeah,
Chase is also the wide receiver one. Like Chase is putting 30 points a game. Chase might be worth more than CMC and Evans combined.
And that's kind of where I was going, is that in this case, you're losing Chase and Garrett Wilson, and then you also have CD and St. Brown. You have a very, very good running or wide receiver group and running back group. There's no point in changing that at this point. It doesn't really, it's more of a parallel move, in my opinion. You're not really changing much. And the only thing is that you end up downgrading at wide receiver, which doesn't help you in the long run. So I wouldn't do that trade. I would keep it the way it is. It's a very enticing trade. I get it, but I wouldn't do it.
I agree. Yeah, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, I can't do that. Wicked, what's going on, brother? He goes super flex, 12-man, full PPR, tight end premium league. All right, we got all that. I traded Mahomes. Yes, he said it's dynasty league.
Okay,
of course. So he said, I traded Mahomes and Brown away for Herbert, Russell, Singletary, and a mid-second and mid-fourth round pick.
AJ Brown?
Good trade for retooling, or is it bad? I'm assuming it's Chase Brown. That would be my guess.
Hope it's Chase Brown. Let's go. We'll start Chase Brown. Okay, Mahomes and Chase Brown.
I don't hate that trade if you're retooling it, you're definitely, I like it.
Man, A mid-second and a mid-fourth.
You're giving away a ton.
Singletary was like, wait, Singletary threw me off as like, what's Singletary doing in there?
Well, that's why I think it's Chase Brown. That's why I think it's Chase Brown.
Retooling. Honestly, Herbert just might. This is weird, but Herbert is equal to Mahomes. They're both young. They're gonna have similar PPG. I get it. Mahomes is on the better team, but you're also getting Russell Wilson. If this is super flex, Russell Wilson looks like the real deal in Pittsburgh. Like, look at Pickens' numbers since Russell's been over there. They're pretty Russell might be real nice out there. If it's Chase Brown, who I think is a good trade away if you're rebuilding, he's going to be elite this season. Who knows what happens next season? He's definitely elite this season, though. Yeah. I think it is definitely close. Right, it's one of those trades where I'm trying to get more. Even flipping that mid-fourth into a third is meaningful, right? But I think you got to do something, right? I mean, you're retooling, so you got to make something happen, and so you're just hoping that hey, if Herbert and Mahomes end up being a wash, it's Chase Brown for Russell Wilson, a second and a fourth. That's a smash. That is a windmill smash, right? A mid-second could be fantastic, right? That could be the next Bucky Irving. This is a good running back class. Russell Wilson could very easily, by mid next year, remember when Purdy was way undervalued and all of a sudden we're yeah, no, he's that guy. Russell Wilson seems like that guy who could skyrocket in dynasty value to the next tier because he's just that guy for a while.
But that's my point. He's giving away a lot to get a little. Because he's getting Mahomes and Brown.
No, he traded Mahomes and Brown away.
Oh, my bad. So then, you're getting a lot. I like it. Never mind. I misread.
Yeah, I think you're capitalizing on the name value of Mahomes while you can. He's going to have some big games, but Herbert looks very good. And honestly,
I think he could have got more. I think you could have maybe got a third. Or
it's one of those Mahomes has one good game. That fourth becomes a third or maybe a second. So I think you did the timing window, but what if it was a trade deadline or something along those lines?
No, it was definitely had to. I would have aimed for a first and a third.
Good trade. I think we have to objectively say I think you may have left a tiny bit on the table, but Wicked is also he hits me up in messages all the time. He's pretty savvy when it comes to trade. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt that he probably did the best he could with this.
Yeah,
and if this where he ended up, I still think it's plus expected value.
Yeah, I do like it. Like I said, I feel like I could have gotten more for the picks, but I think everything else is pretty solid overall.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool beans. So let's move on to I'm gonna mess your name up.
Oh, it's Kai. Wait, Kai had some questions
Kai.
Last week.
Yes, she did, and I'm glad that she was here. She asks, Higgins is showing healthy. He is. Expected. He practiced in full. We're going at face value. It is a Sunday night game, but he's looking. Every report I've read is stating that he is good to go. So do you take a chance and play him, or stick with a guy like Charles Tillman or Cedric Tillman? It's why I always, anytime I see Tillman, I think Charles. I'm not doing it. I can't.
I'm playing Tillman. I don't trust he at all. I don't trust him, man. I don't trust him at all.
It's hard for me to play a guy like Tillman when I know what I'm getting with him.
I don't even know if T's injured, man.
Oh, you think it's one of those Kenny Galladay type injuries where he's I'm injured?
3 weeks?
Yeah. All right. No, it was a quad. Quad is anywhere between 4 and 6 weeks, so he's coming back a smidge earlier than what you would think.
That's fair, but he just seems like the guy that God forbid you throw him a pass too hard in warm-ups.
No, I understand that, and you're not wrong, but when he's played, he's been pretty decent. He hasn't been, crazy good this year. I know that he's been one of those players that you're kind of sitting there and going, do I really need to play him today?
I guess what's T's upside over Tillman though? What's his points per game expected upside versus if it doesn't work out, it's kind of a disaster though, right?
Well, I mean, he's averaging, let's see. So the 5 games he's played, 6, 10, 14, 7, and 8. So he's averaging what? 8 targets a game, 8 to 9 targets a game with roughly 6 receptions for 70 yards roughly, and then he has 3 touchdowns, so 1.5. So I mean, that's not a horrible number to come into. I think that the matchup is better for Tillman overall, just because the Saints' pass defense has definitely taken a hit with, losing Marcus Lattimore. I think both are pretty much in the same tier for the most part. I do have Tillman ranked higher in my rankings. I have Tillman at 20, and I have Higgins at 38 at this current moment. So based on that, I would probably say stick with Tillman for the time being, just because of the concept of what's what we just said. It's hard to trust somebody coming back from an injury like that. Could he go off? Of course. I mean, he had a game. No more than a few. What was it? His second game back from injury. He had 6 catches on 10 targets, 60 yards, and did well. And then the week after that, he was, 14 targets, 9 receptions, and 83 yards for 2 touchdowns. That's the problem. He's too volatile, and Tillman, I think, can be a little bit more steady. But it's just so hard for me to tell people to play a guy like Higgins over.
I mean, for me, it's like, if you were to don't weight these factors, let's just pretend we don't know how to weight them, but we know they're factors, right?
Both games
you give your pros and cons, your plus minuses, and it's like T doesn't have that many pluses. It's a tough defensive matchup. They might just outright win the game, and the T might not need more than 6 targets straight up. The Bengals just might be that good, right? It's okay. He could get re-injured in warmups or the game or whatever. There's all these negatives, right?
Well, she needs some upside. It's half PPR. AJ Brown didn't have a great game. He had an okay game. It wasn't great. He probably fit right around his projection. Does that change anything for you?
I actually think Tillman's got more upside. He scored 2 touchdowns. T hasn't done that yet, right?
Yeah, he did. No, he scored 3.
3 in one game?
No, he scored 2 in one game, and he had 1 right before he left.
Okay, here's what I'm
Remember,
saying.
he hurt his quad in practice.
So equal to Tillman, right? Who's coming off of
Roughly.
2 touchdowns,
They're very
1
similar.
touchdown, right?
Yeah.
I think Jameis is going to pass the ball 2 billion times in any game script.
But so is
Burrow. Not in a positive game script. I think they would love for him to not throw the ball that much. Right?
I think that game is going to be close because they currently have Chargers favored by 2 in this one. I'm gonna go with Higgins. I'm gonna go against my rankings at this point. I gotta fix them up anyway. And I usually start with consensus in the beginning, and I fiddle it around a little bit. So at this point, I mean, 2.5 or 2 right now. It's Chargers by 2. They are going out to the West Coast or East Coast going West Coast, and West Coast going East Coast. The team that travels usually has the bigger issue, and they have a rougher time, or most of the time they have a rougher time. When it comes to the Saints and Browns, I mean, they're traveling too, but they're going same time zone, so it's not really changing. It's just stress of travel. I'm still
worried that the head coach is still saying we'll see. Like, for me, this changes drastically if he's a full go, like Nico this week is a full go.
Oh, no. Higgins is a full go. He's going to be fine. But that's my whole point.
They say he's a full go, and the coach is saying we'll see, though.
Well,
he's quoted saying we'll see.
Oh, God. Oh, it's a Zach Taylor. Oh, Zach Taylor said it? Okay, never mind. Let's go back to Tillman.
That scares the absolute shit out of me.
Yeah, because I remember he had that one game where they said he was good to go, and then he got like 1 catch, or he didn't have any or something.
I mean, that one quote changes everything for me, because Zach Taylor's already been caught earlier with Jamar. Like, if he's saying we'll see, okay, sure. Like, he's saying we'll see to anybody. He's probably saying we'll see about his kicker, but
we'll go. I'll go Tillman here, and it's a better matchup, so I'm going to use the matchup as my narrative here.
I'll agree with you that if T plays, yes. I'm just actually terrified.
The problem
I don't know what the hell happens with him.
It's a 1 o'clock and an 8:20 game, so you can't wait. You can't have them at the same time, and it's like, oh, T Higgins is active. Okay, cool. I'm going to play T Higgins. No,
like the world where T Higgins plays and goes off, and then Tillman scores 12 points, but T got you 20.
I'm okay with it. Yeah.
I will live with that. But if T straight up DNPs and Tillman goes off for 20, there's not enough booze in my fridge. There's just not.
Yeah.
It's one of those like
safer play. He's healthy. You know that he's connected to a quarterback that throws. Better matchup.
I'm not normally a safe guy. I like to get crazy with it, right? Like, got a lot of gin in the system right now, but
I'm gonna go. Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you. Go with Higgins.
Kai, the answer is you're gonna be okay either way. We're hoping and praying for you. We're split on it for sure.
I'm split in my head, but I'm gonna go Tillman here. I think he might be I think I convinced myself to go Tillman, just because of the health quarterback matchup. The trifecta in my opinion. You only get 2 of the 3 for the other. So 2 of 3 ain't bad to Meatloaf. But,
it ain't bad.
we're not singing about that. So Ken C, what's going on, man? He goes, how do you all feel about Bills wide receivers rest of the season? Would you feel okay to drop Shakir in 10 team? No, do not drop Shakir in 10 team.
Well, you know what? This is 10-team redraft, though. I got to be honest. I'm not in many redraft 10 teams, but the 1 or 2 I'm in, I got to be honest. My team's so damn good that he would be droppable. If your team's on the elite side of a 10-team redraft, I see it. But it's not because Shakir's bad. I think that's your point, though, right? Like, Shakir is fantastic, but specifically 10-team, and if you're on the upper bracket of the way you drafted, 5 bench, 10-team. I've seen rosters where it's like he would be the 4th ranked person on the waiver because that's how 10-team redraft can go. If that makes sense, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but he's on my bench waiting. Like I use him as like a flex play when needed if I were to have him on my bench. It's just I'd rather him be on my team than on someone else's because he can have a game, and especially in full PPR, you have him on your team. You do not let him go. He stays on your bench. It does not matter if you play him or not. You find another guy on your team that you can let go.
Ken, who's the person you'd pick up for him, and who's the next
I think
up on your team?
No, he has Shakir on his team.
Yeah, but if you're dropping him, who are you picking up?
Who are you picking up? Honestly, I'm in a 10 team, and I looked at the waivers. It's MVS. It's let me see, and we have a 16 bench right now. And we have 2 IR spots. So
he has to move Higgins off IR.
Okay.
Well, I mean, like, there's got to be context here for sure.
There's got to be more, though, to be honest. I mean,
who else is in contention, Ken? It's between
Shakir.
Who else? Because obviously T's coming off of IR. Who's the second guy? Can you throw that in there? We can kind of give you this or that.
You know what you could do? You know what you could do? If you don't need to move T, if you don't need to
just don't change your roster and take the roster lock. I was just going to say,
lock your roster. See, and that's what I was going to say. Lock your roster. Keep Higgins in the IR spot. And what you do is you keep him in there until next week. Because unless you're willing to actually play him, so if you're looking to play T. Higgins, then you're going to have to make the move. But if you're not looking to play T. Higgins, because it doesn't seem like you need him at this point, because – based on what I'm
he's already made his moves. Like if his roster is not,
you can make moves prior to that. So that's the part that's getting me is that you're waiting until now. So you were definitely waiting to see how things went. My whole thing, let us know who's on your bench. I can definitely tell you who to drop out of that. So he says Hopkins, Tillman, AJ Brown. So you're not, Shakir's definitely the worst out of that group. Maybe Hopkins, but
so if it's if not this week, then probably next week.
No, but I'll put
I'm with you though. Like that's the strat. The strat is like if you're not playing T, like definitely if your roster isn't changing, just like keep the I guess I'm not moving my team.
Well, no, and Ken, just to be clear, who are your other guys as well on your bench? Like even running backs, wide receiver, like whoever you have on your bench. Who do you have? I don't,
that's not your bench, right? Tell me that's not your bench.
Well, no, I mean, if that's your bench, good for you. But I'm hoping you have at least one wide receiver.
Yeah, no, he's starting JJ, AJ, Flex, and BTJ.
So he goes, if I don't move him, I have to stick with Sam Darnold as QB and can't pick up Wilson. I'd rather play Sam Darnold and roll with that.
Yeah, that's close enough. Keep in mind, Darnold. Did you
They have a
watch the
tough
Vikings
matchup.
game last week? Because here's the thing. They moved the ball fine. They had red zone issues,
Oh,
and
don't
that's
even
where all
get me
the bad
started
things
because I
happen.
had JJ, yeah.
They still moved the ball fine. Like, Darnold was disappointing last
But he
week.
wants his stat. I mean, he still probably wants to keep the stack because he does have JJ in that. I mean, Wilson's been playing a lot better. Their matchup this week isn't the best against the Ravens.
Steelers
Well,
have
it is good
Baltimore.
against the Ravens because the Ravens are.
It's a high over-under, and Russ is probably going to have to do a lot. Russ is higher in my rankings this week than Darnold, but, like, it's like 2 spots. So that's not enough for me.
It's not enough to make it where I want to grab a guy like Wilson.
At the same time, is Shakir ever making his lineup, though? In 10 team, like, look at his team. How often is Shakir making his lineup?
No, he probably isn't. And especially with this grouping with, Tillman, JJ, AJ Brown, and, BTJ. I mean,
if you're in a spot where you got to buy a win to get in the playoffs or you're chasing a first-round buy, I am going Wilson over Darnold, so I would do it.
My next question is one, is it fab? 2, is it waiver wire priority? And what priority are you? I could argue the concept that if anything, you can always get him back. But if he's somebody that you don't need, then it's definitely I personally, it's fab. Okay. If you have a ton of fab and like you're one of those people that wait until the very end of the year to spend it, might be a good opportunity to drop it. You can pick him up next week after you see what happens with this group. Who's on the bye next week? Somebody's going to be out next week, and I'm pretty sure
I don't think it's anybody in the trade though, or anybody in the flip.
Trade. No, hold on.
They're all like 12 and 14. I don't think any of these guys are.
Vikings are there, and then the Steelers already had theirs, right?
Sounds
yes,
right.
Steelers already had theirs, but they played Thursday night against the Browns, and they never do good against the Browns on Thursday.
I would do it. I would do it just because I like Wilson over Darnold this week, and Wilson could explode against the Ravens because he'd have to.
No, I understand it.
It's close, as close as it gets. We both like Shakir. Without his lineup, I would be. I think with you got to keep him, but his lineup's pretty nasty, and most of those guys are past their bye.
So Rasta goes, I disagree with y'all. No way you can internationally go into Sunday with a guy on IR that's not eligible, even if your lineup is set and you don't plan to change it. I don't like playing that way. You might not like it. I love playing that way where I can run an extra guy, in my IR spot for the time being. But
it's a fair point. Rasta, here's where I would agree with you in that if it's a league where there's already some precedent where we're like, hey, guys, here's kind of how we want to do this, I wouldn't go against the grain of that, right? If that was kind of like an understood, unwritten rule where it's like, guys, this is a game theory thing you can take advantage of where you're not breaking any rules. It feels a little sus.
Oh, it's no.
If everyone in the league was kind of collectively agreeing to not do it, no problem.
You can still all it is holding a roster spot. It's defensive, and what it does is it keeps it where you have that ability.
He is getting there's a negative trade-off, right? He's saying he intentionally gets a worse quarterback because of this, right? So it's not all upside. Point. It's not like cheating the system. The system says we're effing you. You do not get to do anything. You don't get to change quarterbacks. You get to do nothing. So because of that, the system is giving his punishment, right? The jail sentence is there for what he's doing per the system. But again, I think to Rasta's point, I think too many people do this play in the wrong league. There's leagues where it's like, guys, we've never done this. There's precedent.
Here's my question. T. Higgins or Shakir?
T.
Rest of the season?
T.
So then you're dropping Shakir. Just that's the clear answer is just drop Shakir and go from there. I was trying to make it a little bit more savvy.
Shakir's just never making that lineup. You know what I mean? It's in 10. Shakir's not the type of player you want in 10 team because he's not a 20-point a game guy. He's super solid, but
let's leave it at that. Just drop Shakir. It's the best move you can make at this point. So let's go to Benjamin Weldon. What's going on, brother? He goes, what are we doing with T. Higgins this week? We've been talking about it for the last couple of minutes. I think if in some situations you have no choice but to play him. He's more of a flex play to me than he would be a wide receiver 2 play. If it's full PPR, I feel a lot more confident than I would be in something like half. So in that case, it's a little bit different. Do I feel comfortable in that matchup? Not at all. The Chargers are pretty good against the pass overall. They have I think Khalil Mack we're still waiting on. But yeah. Wait, what did he say? Yeah.
I think everyone's like, "No, man."
Yeah.
He is depressing everybody.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah.
Let's get to Ray W. He goes, Tyson or Paul?
Paul.
I'm going to go Tyson. I'm going to use my
Vegas loses too much money if Tyson.
Oh, no. Okay, let's be clear. Want Tyson to win, know that it's going to be Paul. Let's just leave it at that.
It feels like a rigged game. I don't want to play.
Rigged. I'm not.
It feels so rigged that I don't want to watch.
Money. I'm gonna watch it just to see what it's like what they do. But at the end of the day, it's just for me, I'm bored. Yeah, I don't care that he's 58.
For all like the WWE fans out there, that's what it feels like. I would watch it for the entertainment value, but I don't believe that it's real. I believe it's real violence. I believe it's slightly scripted.
My brother asked me the other day, we were talking about it the other day, and my brother's like, are they wearing headgear? And I'm like, not that I'm aware of. And he's like, he should. And I'm like, yeah, I mean.
Do I think they're going to beat the shit out of each other? Yeah. Do I think it's fair?
They've been talking up too much shit for the last couple of weeks that it's just too much for them not to make it a little bit entertaining. It's definitely going to be worth it in a way, but it's just another way for Netflix to have another, one of their live show things. And,
you ever watch a YouTube video and that the YouTube channel owner is going to get like 5 cents, probably half a cent if you watch the ad. And sometimes you just let it play because you like the channel.
Yeah.
I love that Netflix documentaries are the best thing on TV.
Netflix are great.
Bar none. Netflix is killing it. I don't think anyone needs to watch regular TV anymore. And I'll support Netflix as a business and their ventures because I love everything they're doing. And if they need one view from me, I'll watch it. That's kind of where I'm at. So, no free ads over here, but like Netflix, if you want to get on the train, Get Right's a fan.
My brother-in-law actually did he was in a documentary for it was called The Pharmacist, and it was like all the it was about Oxycontin and drug strips down in I think Louisiana, and he was involved with that particular production, and was the interviewer of the people and was really involved in that process. And he has his own little podcast that he does as well with stories, and he writes for a couple other people too. So Jed, shouting him out. So hope he So nice. Oh, I appreciate that, Benjamin. Glad that you like it, man. Yeah, they're the main event. They're probably not going until 12 o'clock. So there's a couple other guys. So Benjamin goes standard scoring: T. Higgins, Persall, Quinston Johnson, or Brian Thomas Jr.
Standard scoring.
I'm going to go Quinston Johnson.
Whew. Wow.
Better matchup.
It's not BTJ.
No, it can't be BTJ.
I can't do Huge for it. I don't think. I want to, but sometimes he has 3 targets.
The other one is Persall.
Call me crazy. I'm going Slick Rick, baby.
I don't. To me, it's between Quinston Johnson and Persall. I'm gonna go Q2. I'm gonna go Quinston Johnson.
I think it is QJ and Pearsall for me. It's close.
And it's
QJ has got a nice matchup. QJ they could be chasing points. That could be kind of fun.
Well, and the defense is bad against wide receivers. So
I might talk myself into QJ there. As gross as it feels to always start him, but it might be QJ there. Ricky might not need more than 3 targets. He just might not need it. Yeah, it's probably QJ, isn't it? It probably is.
Oh, if this was a PPR, it would be Persall without even thinking twice. Like it's Persall and or Higgins.
I just feel like I think Slick Rick takes another step this week. I feel like he's actually a really good football player. Like I feel like by end of season, he's the wide receiver 1 over Debo. I think he's that good.
Unfortunately, I think Jennings keeps him at bay for a little bit, but they will get him involved.
He can't stay healthy though.
Yeah, so that's his best hope at this point. Benjamin goes, I need a fill-in for Otten in standard. Will Disley, Knox, Schultz, or Freiermuth. I don't hate the Freiermuth play. I kind of like it. I think Freiermuth is my guy for standard in this case. I love Will Disley, but he's more of a PPR monster in the context of, he's not really involved in the red zone as much as we would like him to be. Knox is really a ceiling play in the context of he's a deep threat guy and not really a red zone guy, if you will. Schultz, I don't mind, but with Nico Collins coming back, he's going to kind of disappear a little bit. Or be involved less in that capacity. I'm going to go Freiermuth.
Freiermuth's like 3 targets a game. It's just been killing me. Oh, it's so tough. I've been in some tight end premium leagues where Freiermuth has been brutal. Man. Yeah. It's between Knox and Disley for me. I want it to be Freiermuth because I am in on him. I've been a fan for a minute. I just haven't seen it yet. With Russ, it feels like it's coming, but it hasn't happened yet. And he's doing a lot of blocking. He's not running nearly the amount of routes. If you look at the underlying metrics, he's just not running a lot of routes.
Yeah.
I mean, Knox for the upside, I think, because that game could get crazy. Disley's this. I would go Disley for the safe play, Knox for like the barn burner type of play. But yeah. Freiermuth might actually be the upside play because that game should be crazy too.
Well, that was where I'm going, is because
I just don't like that. Like, even in high scoring games, I haven't seen Freiermuth get involved enough. It just seems like a coaching thing.
My hope is that Tomlin sees the weakness in their defense, which is in this particular case the wide receiver. And yes, I know that he is not a pass catcher. I know he's a pass catcher and more of an inline guy, dealing with guys like Roquan and Kyle Hamilton, who I understand is hurt and might play, but I do think that he could take advantage of this because Russ tends to check down more than other guys. I do like Freiermuth a little bit.
Call me crazy, but in standard, I think Disley has the highest chances for catching touchdowns because I think the play callers lean towards finding a weird open guy in a game they're going to be chasing points, and I don't think they're going to be able to just J.K. Dobbins fall in the end zone. Something tells me Disley's going to have a decent game. The more I keep talking myself into like, dude,
yeah,
since he's going to put up some damn points.
Well, it's the matchup for me that I like Disley in other formats, like in PPR and so on. Standard, it's always the touchdown. So I'm always thinking touchdown. I don't care about.
That's kind of where I'm at
too. I don't care about, and especially with tight ends. I don't give a shit about
Freiermuth's not getting the red zone targets is where I'm at with him. He's got no touchdowns, and he's blocking a lot because that team just runs. Well,
they've been running a lot more because they finally figured out that they actually have a good running back.
Schultz, same thing. No red zone. Run. Nixon.
Let's see what we got here. So within the 10-yard line, Pratt Freiermuth is 3 for 3 with receptions and targets. No, with
on the season, he's got 3 red zone targets.
3 red zone targets, 3 receptions, 3 touchdowns, and 17 yards. So the yardage I don't care about. That's extra. So he has currently from the inside the 10. All right, let's go to the 15 just to kind of give it a little bit more out. He's 5 for 5 with 3 touchdowns. And inside the 20, he's non-existent, but that's okay because they're not really, that's not
5 touchdowns
metric. No, he's got 3 touchdowns, 5 receptions within 15.
That makes sense. I mean, he's got 3 touchdowns on the season.
And all 3 have been in the red zone.
Guys, the worries me, he's got 3 red zone targets, though.
No,
three 10 zone targets.
No, I understand that, but that's still my point. They use him in the red zone because he's a big target. The other guys that he's mentioning in this group haven't been involved in the red zone in one way or another. Dawson Knox has not been involved. He's got 1 for 1 or
yeah.
1 for 2.
I mean, he's an X factor, right? He's been his usage has been down.
Yeah, and it's really just because of Kincaid and everybody else. But at the end of the day, I like Freiermuth a lot in this spot. I mean, even from 5 yards, he was 1 for 1 and 1. So they used him from 5 yards out too. So he's getting involved in the red zone a lot, and in standard tight, like we said, touchdowns are king. I don't even see Will Dissly in this particular, in these statistics at all in any shape, way, or form, which makes me think, like you said before, they're running the ball in when they get to the red zone. That's what they like to do, the Chargers. So in this particular case, I definitely like Freiermuth a little more. The matchup is pretty good as well. Versus the tight ends, the Falcons are currently 24th against the tight end, and they are putrid against wide receiver at this point. I have to lean, and with the better play from Russ, I'm going Freiermuth. I don't know how
this
much
is a
more we
toss-up,
can go.
dude. Benjamin, I gotta be honest, this is a crazy one. That is a standard makes this one a crazy one. If it was PPR, it'd be so easy for me, but like standard makes it such a toss-up.
So Benjamin wonders if the 3 were from Fields or Russ. That's a great
2
question.
were Fields, 1 was Russ.
There we go. Thank you for finding that answer for me. So yeah.
Strangely, he's had more targets per game with Fields than Russ too.
So just saying, it might be a decent play if you're looking to get Russ into your lineup too. No, that was a different person. But yeah, I like Freiermuth, so I'm going to go Freiermuth. Let's go to Patty S. What's going on, Patty? He goes. Sorry, 12 team. He's 7-3. 1 flex. Stafford May lost Dak. Yeah, better off. AJ Brown, Garrett Wilson, Amari, Nico, Mixon, Tracy, Dottle, Ferguson. Great. Love it. Any moves you guys would make before the deadline? Thanks, lads. Oh, then it is a lad.
Try to pick up Russell Wilson over Drake May. I think Russell Wilson is on some waivers. He's looking very good. I like him over May rest of season. It's a small edge. It's not big, but it is meaningful. His wide receivers are better. His offensive output's better.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's the only thing that I can see is that your QB is a lower end. I wouldn't trade or anything like that. Find a different one off the waivers and try to stream at this point for QB. And find the best guy that you can go with. I agree with Kendall in the context of going for a guy like him. But your lineup is pretty solid otherwise. I do like Mixon Tracy. You're going to be running Dowdle now that he's been labeled the starter in this case. You might want to find a backup for those two. But otherwise,
sell a running back.
You can't sell for running back in this case. You have good wide receivers, but who are you going to get out of that? And you're basically cutting your wide receiver. Your good wide receiver depth for a running back. It just doesn't work. So, yeah, no, I think you're doing okay.
Yeah, I can't find any, there's a lot of, there's some new ones we could go into, Patty, here on, where we could, do some trades and things like that. It's very, very league dependent, though.
Yeah.
There's some assets you can trade, like Mixon. His production is so ridiculous. Maybe there's a potential flip. Would you do Mixon for Brees or something like that? I don't even know if I would do that, but there's some interesting lines there. Mixon's just too damn good in that team to really flip him for anybody that people would flip him for. No. Garrett Wilson, I think his trade value is lower than his production because of the stink of that offense. Nico coming off of an injury, people are going to be more tentative. I think Nico's probably the one where you could somebody that's losing could make a Hail Mary for Nico and give you something big, but they would have to be a losing record and they would have to be willing to give up something too big. And I don't see them doing that. So that I don't think you're making many moves. If I'm honest, I think it's a waiver QB. I don't think you can. AJ Brown, if you could sell AJ Brown, I think that offense is trending towards AJ Brown being slightly below his production, will be below his trade value. So I think AJ Brown's probably your best trade away for something. I don't know what you would get though.
You would get a Chase Brown, or you would get a guy
You can't flip wide receiver for
Najee-
wide receiver. It doesn't work that way. You'd have to flip
No,
wide
understood.
receiver for a running back.
And that's what I'm saying. Like Najee, who's the guy?
Yeah, it's just like a X
White.
I said like Brees for
Rashad
Nico
White
Collins
would be another
potentially,
guy. I mean, you're trading away a bit. I wouldn't do anything.
I like the
would
team.
leave
I mean,
it
the
the way
team
you
looks
were.
mean, dude.
When
Like,
you're 7-3, you don't do a damn thing. Just keep doing what you're doing.
and you get Nico back. Look,
Yeah,
Mixon,
you're getting Nico back with Nico and Mixon. Yeah, no,
Mixon
you're fine.
Tracy Dowdle is really, really nice. Like, if I was gonna do
Yeah.
anything, it would be I would want to be slightly heavier RB to wide receiver because that's where this thing could fall off the rails.
Yeah,
So
I get
if
that.
if I were to do anything, I would look to flip, I think, AJ Brown for like an equivalent running back. If I were to just say like, hey, I think you're weaker at running back if an injury were to happen, maybe. But honestly, I think you stand pat.
Yeah,
That roster looks really, really good. Ferguson's obviously like your weak link. So on your bench, because your starting lineup's so good, most of those are past their bye week. I think maybe carry an extra tight end and look for some upside. Is there a tight end you might look for an upside?
So
Would you
he's
trade
saying
for a tight end?
He's saying people in his league are holding 2 to 3 QBs each, which is ridiculous. Richardson, Carr, and Winston are available. Prefer any of those guys this week based on matchups? No.
Not over who you have, no.
No. I like what you currently have with Stafford. I think Stafford is a fine play this week against Patriots.
They're all healthy. Again, Stafford had a bad week
Yeah.
last week, but again, previous week, I think he had 3 touchdowns.
Yeah. He's
Stafford's
fine.
on the bounce back. He's going to be nice.
Yeah, he'll be fine. I don't think you do anything. I think you just keep everything the way it is and just keep rolling the way you've been doing it.
Well, watch our trade shows. Like I think Ruskin.
They should be back
probably
next
go into
week.
some of those. There are some trades. We can't go into all the nuance, but there are
No,
some,
because
like,
there's too many factors.
there are
that we
some
can't-
buy lows, but like it's too many to go into.
Yeah.
But
We'll
but
give
it's-
you
what
our
we're saying
best.
is your league mates have to make a mistake, right?
For sure. So let's go with Eric here. Eric goes, trying to get my foot into the playoff door. Who to start, Cousins or Herbert this week?
Herbert.
Yeah, I'm leaning Herbert too. The Broncos are very tough against wide receivers and quarterbacks. So I'm going to have to lean Herbert here.
Herbert could have. I mean, I'm projecting him for about 28 points.
Cousins is also hurt. It's not on the injury report, but he's dealing with soreness in his right shoulder and elbow, I think. And it's really, it's just the season. He's getting beat up. He's getting
Herbert's
hit.
starting to run again, baby. You forget he can do 50
Herbert.
rushing yards a game. He's nice. He's mini Josh Allen.
Yeah, for sure. Let's go X-Multi Prods. What's going on, man? We're going to be wrapping it up, though. So X-Mutal or Muty, X-Muty, we're going to answer your question last. Don't worry. Or not.
Oh, he's actually got a couple, actually.
Yeah, he's got a couple. We
Maybe
got
we can shotgun a couple in a row for him.
But his last question at the very end, the one for Brees Hall, I already have Saquon and Kyron is going to be our last question. But Multi, who can I get for Jonathan Taylor?
For me, this is a negative EV situation. The situation is the Colts feel bad, so it's carrying Jonathan Taylor with it. He is worth more in your lineup than he is in trade value, in my opinion. I don't think he is a trade away candidate because no one is going to give you fair value.
You're not going to get anything higher than, in my opinion, Jaden Reed, Drake London. No, Drake London's too high.
JT's upside is just too damn good, too. Like, JT has 20 to 25 point a game upside, and that's with Richardson sucking. What if Richardson's good?
How would you feel with DK? I think DK is
JT,
the high end.
JT easy.
Yeah. Okay.
Easy. JT is still like. Look at his efficiency. Like he's way up there. And this is one of those like.
Oh no, I love JT.
Games.
I can't think of anybody to trade him for because
he's
of that.
Absolutely still one of the best running backs in the league. Like Kyron's putting up more points per game. JT's a better running back, and he's going to start outscoring him.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily looking to move him multi. This is one of those don't trade him. I would tell you, believe me, I love trading for any. If I can get a 1% edge, I'll spend 5 hours sending 20 requests to get a 1% edge. You're not going to find it.
Yeah.
Not with him. The team is carrying too much negative press.
Oh, for sure. X Multi goes. Oh, is this just another?
Who to trade for Brees Hall?
Who to trade for? Like I said, it's the same. It's the same question. You
Josh
don't really
Jacobs.
want to.
If you can flip him for Brees Hall, I would try to. Chase Brown, no one will do it, but give it a shot. Wide receiver wise, DK Metcalf, I would try to do that.
He's asking Brees for Nico.
I think what he's saying is like he was responding to the previous thing where he said maybe flip Nico for Brees.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, in PPR, I like Nico over Brees there, to be honest, though. Like, Nico was leading the league in receiving yards. He was disgusting. It's close.
Well, he's saying he already has Barkley and Kyron Williams. So my assumption
He's trading
is
away Brees Hall.
Trading away Brees for a guy like Nico. If you can get that done. Like, you don't even
Who's your third RB, though? Because RBs get injured, and that's how you can lose titles.
Yeah, I can agree with that, too.
Saquon is one, like, he's too damn good. He's too physically, though. Like, he's getting a lot of work. He's getting a lot of touches.
Oh, yeah. And so is Kyron. But at the end of the day, volume is king. And right now, they are the best two options to have. Yeah.
Maybe Amon-Ra has been historically a little bit lower in points per game than the owner would want. That's an interesting flip for the name of Brees. Okay. I think you could kind of consider. Wide receivers have been underperforming because quarterbacks have been underperforming, right? There are a lot of them are inconsistent. So, like, if this year, I trust the elite running backs more than wide receivers. So I'm not necessarily looking to – if you have a terrible wide receiver too, you're looking to, like, change it up maybe. But if it's a flex situation, nope.
Hey, look who it is. What's going on, Philly?
Hey, man. How you doing, brother?
Look at that outfit.
Did you hear the preamble? Were you on earlier?
No, I just got on right now. I've been
Hey, you were a part of the preamble.
Getting yourself ready.
Yeah, that's right. I was in makeup for a couple hours, as you can tell. So What was I part of? What'd you do now?
So, I mean, the gimmick I was rolling with today was, look, it's trade deadline in several leagues I'm in, and we've been doing a lot of business. Boy, it's all right. We've been day trading out in the streets, and I did a trade with you. Recently.
We haven't even talked about our big trade. Well, I mean, we had a pretty good trade today, but we haven't even talked about the big one.
I mean, we haven't talked about the big one, but this next one was pretty big too because I think it wins you the league.
I think so too. That's why.
You were already, I think, the favorite, but you're up against some pretty elite competition with wide receivers. I think this pushes you over the edge, and
I do.
And you paid for it. Fair enough.
Yeah.
So that's why the suit is though. I'm a businessman today. I am. Everybody is on the table. I will trade anything. All right. I am buying. I'm buying calls. I'm selling puts. Let's go.
Let's answer Justin's question. He goes, "Hey fellas, half-point PPR, wide receiver, Myers, Downs, or Jaden Reed."
You can't be Downs PPR with Richardson.
So Myers and Reed. I think that's where I'd go.
Half PPR. I like Reed because he's kind of like the standard half PPR like big play guy. Well, like Myers would maybe flip me in full PPR. It's close, but it's got to be Reed, right?
I'm going Reed.
I would take Reed there, but I'm looking. Who do the Chargers have this weekend? Because then it's a question of
Bengals.
Cincy.
So it's either Dobbins or Myers in that flex spot. Dobbins probably has the best potential.
I would say Dobbins.
Touchdown. Yeah, I would too.
I mean, Titans versus Vikings. I like. Yeah, I definitely like Dobbins a lot better over Pollard. So yeah, I'm going Reed and Pollard or Reed and Dobbins there. What about you guys?
I agree.
Yeah, agreed.
Let's get to it's the same question from Xmuty, but I'm gonna
appreciate like the multiple questions though. By the way, man, this is not like a one and done thing. If you want to ask us 5 in a row, like go to town. We're gonna hit it.
We're gonna be wrapping it up now because we got these guys right below me with Phil and Rasta. We're gonna hand you guys off in a minute to them, and they're gonna help you guys with all your questions. And the last end of that,
tell Phil to accept some of my trades during this stream. By the way, all right?
I already did. I already accepted a trade. What do you want to do now?
Exactly.
I offered you more.
What'd you offer me? Oh yeah, no, I don't want to give that pick up. I just gave you a first round pick. I don't want to give up 2 first round picks in the same day.
But it's my own pick. My pick was supposed to be late,
technically
Phil.
it's now mine. Well, it is no longer.
Supposed to be late, Phil.
It's now early, and if I win the league and get an early pick,
you lucked out.
Did I?
So we got Brad McCoy, 24. He goes, if Amari Cooper misses this week, who do I start in the flex? Addison versus Tennessee, Quentin Johnston versus Cincinnati, Waddle versus the Raiders, or pick up Pop Douglas and start versus the Rams. Well, I will tell you, do not do that. But the other two that I would go with,
I'm on Huge.
Yeah, I'm leaning him too.
I'm consulting my rankings.
I can't do that because I have them all spread.
I have Waddle just ahead of Huge, but it's so thin, right? Like, which version of Tua is going to show up? Which version of Huge is going to show up?
At a higher rate than
and that's I can't believe I'm going to say this, but like, who's going to score a touchdown? It might be Huge. So
I'm going Q's just because of the matchup.
I can't believe I just said that. That's so off-brand.
I know it's me and you are the lowest.
Could you imagine if I had to start Huge and Xavier Worthy in a league? Like, I'd quit fantasy football. I would just that's like the offest brand for me. It could possibly. I'd quit. I would just turn it all over to someone else.
I could send you a screenshot right now that would make you projectile vomit.
No, thank you.
On site.
Yeah, I'm going Quentin Johnson. The matchup's great. Currently, the Bengals are 19th best against the wide receiver. I just can't not do that, especially if it's a full PPR or a half PPR. I'm pretty happy with that. Can't trust Addison, unfortunately, and Waddle is volatile, unfortunately. So those are all the questions we have today. Thank you all for joining us and that we're in the chat. Thank you so much for all those that joined. We're going to be handing you guys off right to this guy and Anthony in just a minute. Anthony's getting his stuff worked out. So we're just wrapping things up. Make sure you guys check out these two guys on our channel. Make sure you check out the Fantasy Football Tavern and, of course, the Extra Point with Phil. Every Wednesday and Thursday, he does his DFS show on Thursday and Dynasty on Wednesday. And, of course, Kendall is getting out his videos for you guys as well. Also, check out the Fantasy Boardroom with the Tycoon himself. He will get you guys going on Tuesdays. So make sure you guys check him out. For the full list and full schedule of everything going on, here's our schedule for you. We'll be back here on Sunday with me on the Active and Inactive show. I'll help you guys leading off the 1 o'clock games. We got our Monday Waiver Wire show. We got Tuesday with Tycoon, Wednesday with Phil, as well as our buy low, sell high show. Thursday, Phil's back doing his DFS and prop bets right up until Thursday Night Football. And then, of course, we are back here on Friday night doing both of our shows. So thank you all for joining. We really do appreciate it. Phil, go get ready for your show.
I'm out. See you in a couple minutes.
Later, bro.
Phil, you good solo? Or you want a buddy for a while?
Come and join. I don't know. Rasta can't use technology or something. So yeah, jump in there. Jump in. We'll hang out. It'll be a party. Bring your cool jacket. It'll be great.
Yeah.
I got a little gin to finish, so we'll get a little silly for like.
There we go.
Be all in there.
See you over there.
All right, brother. So make sure you guys check out Phil and Rasta. They will be right after us. We're gonna hand whoever's watching now. We're gonna just hand you guys right over to them. So make sure you guys check them out. I really do appreciate everybody for coming in and joining. Oh, I forgot to mention our good guys right here, the Cody and Zach. Make sure you guys check out the Sweet Life Football Podcast. They are every Saturday. We'll try to get out a video for you guys. So make sure you guys are checking that out. Also, make sure you guys, if you haven't already, it's getting to that time of year, guys. Almost the end. It's sad, but you might need a trophy. Make sure you guys check out TrophySmack.com. Use Get Right in the promo code, and they will help you at checkout. You can get things like this customizable trophy. You can get a ring. I mean, this is our 1,000 subscriber ring, but you can get something like this made up. Oh, you got look at that beautiful thing.
This whole thing right here.
Oh, this little thing right there. Look at that. I'll put it in solo for you just so you guys can see that beauty. I love it.
My baby right here.
Just beautiful. So make sure you guys check out TrophySmack.com. Make sure you use promo code GetRight, and they will help you at checkout. Anthony's just taking an extra minute, but don't worry, we're going to actually jump over with Phil for a couple minutes until Anthony gets in there, and then I'm going to probably bounce out because I'm exhausted. All right, boys and girls, we'll see you on the flip side. Have a good week 11, unless you're facing me. I'll see you guys on Sunday. Peace out, all.
Wanted to white fantasy is the play. Marking nothing, but I tune in every Friday. Strategies provided.